Good evening. Welcome to the October 18th, 2023 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. My name is Suzanne Brunel. I'll be acting chair this evening. We'll do a quick introduction in a moment. I'll just run through the process here. The clerk is going to read the matters into the record. We'll ask the applicants to come forward. They will state their name and address. Anyone who's actually speaking this evening would please come to this podium right here and state your name and address. We'll do the presentation. The board will ask questions. We do ask that if you get up to speak, that everyone directs their questions to the board. It is not a conversation between the applicant and the person speaking. We will have an opportunity for anyone who's speaking in favor to speak. We ask, again, you come to the microphone, and we will ask anyone who is in opposition to have an opportunity to speak. We will allow the applicant an opportunity to rebut, and we will ask some more questions and comments from the board if there are any. We will take the case under advisement. We will close the public hearing. Please understand that once we close the public hearing, we cannot take any more testimony or hear from anyone else unless we go back out into the public, which is not typical. For those of you here today, if you could just silence your cell phones, we'd appreciate that. And I think that we have covered everything about the procedure. We're certainly here to help you. If you have any questions, don't be shy. I know public speaking isn't everyone's bag. So quickly, if we can do introductions, we can start with Irene.
Hi, I'm Irene Macarelli, full member.
Brennan O'Brien, full member.
Suzanne Brunel, acting chair.
Chris Moore, alternate member.
Bob Robichuk, alternate member.
Kelly Karen, Assistant Town Manager.
Ben Bennett, Town Planner.
Thank you. I think the first motion we will make today is to appoint both Rob and Chris as voting members this evening.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you both. First on the agenda is draft minutes. Everyone had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes that were at the last meeting, which I think was everyone but me. Yes?
I was not.
Well, he
at
was
the
We're
on
not
there
either?
So
Okay.
he can't make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Any comments, questions?
Not for me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Report by Town Council Liaison. I don't see anyone out there, so we will move on to regional impact. You doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
So the two cases this evening, case number 1018-2023-1 and 1018-2023-2, staff is recommending they're not of regional impact.
Okay, so I have a motion to acknowledge that those two cases are not of regional impact.
I move to accept the regional impact determination.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, Brendan, if you want to read the first case in when you're ready.
Case number 719-2023-4, rehearing for a variance from 4.1.2 Table of Uses to allow a child care facility in the commercial C3 zoning district, 25 Orchard View Drive, map 7, lot 38-1, Brylor Corporation, owner and applicant.
Madam Chair, I have to recuse myself.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Will Reddington from Wadley, Stein Peters, 95 Market Street, Manchester, New Hampshire.
And my name is Connor Morriso, President of the Brylor Corporation, 25 Orchard View Drive, Londonderry.
Thank you both. If you want to make a, I don't know, however you want to do it, make a general narrative, you want to go through the 5 points. Ultimately, we will need you to go through the 5 points.
Absolutely.
Should we warn him?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So as you can see here, we have 4 members this evening. If you want to move forward, you understand you have to carry 3 of the 4 votes, which I'm sure you understand. And you still want to proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as you offered, I would like to make a brief introduction, and then I will go through the 5 criteria. So here with me tonight is Connor Morceau, a representative of the Breiler Corporation. Also here tonight are Jamie and Ryan Getchell, right over here. They are the owners and operators of the Nest Family Cafe. They will also be the owners and operators of the Nest Family Center, which is the child care center for which this variance is sought. So the location of this child care facility will be located at 25 Orchard View Drive, which is comprised of a shopping plaza and a freestanding 3,000 square foot building, which was formerly occupied by a bank. The child care facility will be located within this existing freestanding bank building. This building is unique in that it was designed for use as a bank, and it has a drive-through with a large canopy over it. The property owner for several years and for quite some time has tried to lease the space with no success. The type of property just really isn't in demand. Fortunately, the Nest Family Cafe is right next door. This business caters towards families with young children. Opening a daycare center in this vacant bank building right next door is a perfect expansion of their business and an ideal use of an existing building that has sat vacant for some time. So we are here tonight seeking a variance from Section 412 of the zoning ordinance, which, as you may know, is the table of permitted uses. The table omits childcare centers as a permitted use in the C1 zone where this property lies. Therefore, a variance is needed for this particular use. So moving on to the 5 variance criteria, starting with the first one, granting the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. So for a variance to be contrary to the public interest, it must unduly and in a marked degree violate the basic zoning objectives. And to determine this, one can look at whether the variance would alter the essential character of the neighborhood or threaten the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. Those are the standards that courts will look at. So this proposed use will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, as it will be commercial in nature and will be located in an existing retail plaza that is frequented by families. Adjacent to the proposed child care center is the Nest Family Cafe, which caters towards families with small children, so it'll blend seamlessly into the existing neighborhood and other uses at the property. The other tenants have expressed their support for this proposed use. The salon that is there, Meg Companies and Superwalk, we've included these letters of support in our motion for rehearing, and the board has those letters. Having a child care facility like this will be good for businesses and the other tenants. The Nest Family Center will offer a unique child care model where parents can drop off their children for an hour or so or for all day, so it is very flexible, and this will enable parents to visit local businesses with or without their children, so the businesses will support each other. There will be mutual support there. A child care center at this location will not threaten the health, safety, or welfare of the general public, as young children and families frequent shopping plazas and retail establishments routinely without incident. There's also no evidence to suggest that this use would be unsafe. Moving forward to the spirit of the ordinance, the spirit of the ordinance is observed. According to the Londonderry ordinance with respect to the C1 zoning district, it states that it is intended to provide for town servicing business activities where the establishment of planned business center development should be encouraged. So permitting a daycare facility at this location observes this spirit and intent. As stated for the C1 district, it is to provide town servicing business activities. This is exactly what we are proposing. A daycare facility creates jobs and allows Londonderry parents to participate in the workforce. It provides a vital town service and contributes to the local economy. Also, the ordinance specifically spells out prohibited uses in the C1 zone, which include facilities for the maintenance or repair of machinery, large appliances, and equipment having internal combustion engines. It specifically spells out these as prohibited uses. A child care facility obviously does not fall under these specific prohibited uses. Further, the specific prohibited uses of these type suggests that a childcare facility would be compatible in the C1 zone, which also permits assisted living facilities, nursing homes, recreational uses, and religious uses. Moving forward to the third criteria, substantial justice will be done by granting this variance. Now, the standard here is that any loss to the individual, or the applicant rather, that is not outweighed by a gain to the general public is an injustice. So first, I think it's really important to note here that there is no gain to the general public by denying this variance. Rather, granting the variance will do substantial justice because there is a dire need for access to child care services in the state of New Hampshire and even nationwide. As noted in our motion for a hearing, data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows that there's more than 15,000 New Hampshire residents who are not working because they are caring for children at home. Also submitted with our motion for a hearing were letters of support. Among these is a letter from Early Learning New Hampshire, which is a statewide nonprofit organization. This letter notes that in the organization's 20 years of existence, they have never witnessed a greater need for child care space in New Hampshire than they see now. That's 20 years, they have never witnessed a greater need. We also received and submitted a letter of support from the New Hampshire Child Care Advisory Council, which is a legislatively enacted body. The Advisory Council states their support for our goal of expanding childcare opportunities in New Hampshire and in Londonderry. The Advisory Council support letter notes how important access to childcare is for the economy as a whole, and even cites that each childcare employee allows 8 other employees in our state to go to work. They call childcare workers the workforce behind the workforce. Clearly, it is vital to our economy, and we are in dire need of childcare workers and spaces in childcare. In essence, there is a substantial need for childcare in the state. The childcare is vital to our economy. I would also note for this board that without this variance, the applicant will continue to suffer a loss. The applicant has marketed the building for rent for a significant period of time with no takers. The building is unique in that it is a freestanding bank building with a drive-through overhang. Very few tenants are interested in these types of features and this property. However, it is ideal for a child care facility. Where it's a freestanding building, it is ideal for drop-off and pickup. The existing drive-through feature provides an ideal outdoor area for the children, which will have a cover from the canopy and will be fenced in. Even more specific to this applicant and within this plaza is the Nest Family Cafe, which I've mentioned before, making this site the perfect location so these two related businesses can be side by side. It would be a tremendous loss to the applicant by denying this variance. Moving forward to the fourth criteria, the values of the surrounding properties will not be diminished. When this board looked at this criteria the first time around, it did not find that the property values would be diminished if the variance was granted, meaning that it found that this criteria was satisfied. Not wanting to assume that this board here tonight would make the same findings, I will offer that there is no evidence that granting the variance will diminish the value of surrounding properties. As I've noted already, the proposed center will be located in a freestanding building, an existing plaza. The use is essentially commercial. It will be directly adjacent to the Nest Family Cafe, which already caters towards families with young children. I've also noted that we already have the support of the other tenants, which demonstrates that they believe that the variance will help their businesses and not decrease property values. Moving towards the last of the 5 criteria, unnecessary hardship. The statutory requirements here define unnecessary hardship, and they define it as owing to the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. A, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property. And B, that the proposed use is a reasonable one. So beginning with the special conditions of this property, I've said it multiple times already, but this building is unique. It's a freestanding former bank building located in an existing retail plaza. It is isolated from Nashua Road, which is the main throughway there. It has a separate entrance from the rest of the shopping plaza. There are two. There's one that's closer to this. It has a drive-through with a canopy. It is a very unique building that was purposefully designed for use as a bank, but it's not necessarily a great design for other commercial uses. However, it is an ideal location for a child care center. It is perfectly located right next to the Nest Family Cafe, which, as this board knows, caters towards families, and the owners and operators of those businesses will be the same. Due to these special conditions, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance and the specific application to this property. So the general public purpose of the ordinance is to promote orderly development of the town, promote health and safety and welfare of the community, and to promote the local economy. As I've discussed already, and specifically to the C1 zone, it says that the intent is to promote town servicing business activities. Here, due to the special conditions of the property, there is no substantial relationship between the purpose of the ordinance and prohibiting a child care center at this property. A child care center will provide a much-needed service to the town. It will support the local economy by creating jobs and allow parents to enter the workforce. It will have a mutually beneficial relationship with the neighboring businesses. Parents who frequent this plaza and the nearby businesses will be able to drop their children off at the Nest Family Center while they patron these other businesses. Essentially, it'll fit nicely in this neighborhood and will support the local economy. Lastly, the proposed use as a child care facility is reasonable because this use is permitted under Londonderry zoning ordinance in other districts, both as a matter of right and with a conditional use permit or a special exception. There are also other daycare facilities located in the C1 district. For example, the Learning Tree, which is off on 2 Young Road. I would also note that this property is bordered by the C3 zone, both to the east and the west. If this building was located across the street in the C3 zone, a child care facility would be permitted by right and a variance wouldn't be needed. So we're essentially right next door to the C3 zone. Where child care facilities are permitted use under the ordinance, and there are identical uses within the C1 district, the proposed use as a child care center is presumptively reasonable. Just to provide a brief summary for the board, I think it's clear that there is a substantial need for child care in the state. Child care services support the local economy by employing workers and allowing parents to participate in the workforce. Granting this variance will help to address the need for child care and will support Londonderry's economy. The building and the property are an ideal location for a child care center. It will be located next to a related business, catering to the same clientele. It will also support other businesses in the plaza, and we have their support. With that, I'd open it up to questions if the board has any. I know myself, Connor, Getchels are available.
Thank you. Do you have letters of support?
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are letters of support attached to the motion for rehearing.
Correct.
Those are the letters of support you're talking about? Okay, I think I have 5, it looks like, 3 from tenants and then 2 from those organizations you mentioned.
That's correct.
So we're planning on reading those into the record?
They're not, I don't know the answer to that. They're not part of the application.
Okay.
That's up to the board, if you'd like. I mean, he's raised them.
Yeah, I actually want to hear them, so.
Okay.
Sure. Do you need copies, or do you have them in front of you?
I can read them. I have them in front of me.
Everybody good with that? So we can hear who's in support? Okay,
Sure.
You want to read them now?
please.
Okay.
You want to wait till we're doing the support? Okay, we can. Okay, questions from the board?
Not at this time.
So I have a question. Exhibit 4 to the motion for rehearing, and I don't know if you have it in front of you. It's a proposed modification plan for this property, and it shows,
Yeah, we don't have.
We don't have that.
so I'm looking at the motion for rehearing.
Oh,
it shows a speed limit sign, it shows some speed bumps, crosswalks, and I don't know what is shown on the opposite side. It might be fencing on the canopy. So is the application, like, is the proposed modification part of the application such that these modifications will be in place?
No, this is not specifically part of the application. So when we were before this board before, there was concerns raised about safety.
Right.
And we filed our motion for hearing, and with that, we included this proposed modification, showing that we are willing to make modifications if this board deems them necessary. We would submit that this property and this location is safe without these modifications. I'd also note that these sort of features are more in the purview of, say, the planning board or the building inspector rather than the zoning board. But if the board does feel that safety modifications are necessary, we're certainly open to them. And this was an example of such.
Okay, no, I was just trying to understand if the application was conditioned on that or whatnot, but thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just add to that, if the board grants the variance, I would request that you condition it on site plan approval. They would need to go through the change of use site plan review process, which would include, of course, any pertinent planning board site plan development regulations.
Questions?
How many children will be at the facility? I'm just concerned, I was just thinking about the traffic.
Well, it is a unique model because we'll allow kind of a flexible model, but my understanding is roughly a max capacity of 50, but I also have the Getchels here if they'd like to comment further.
Hi, Ryan Getchell.
You just
So-
state your address as well, please.
So the business is 25 Orchardview Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, but I'm also a resident at 3 Lilac Circle, Londonderry, New Hampshire. So the occupancy of the building, we're still working on the design, but it's maxed out at 50. So there wouldn't be any more than 50 kids at a time at the building.
Thank you. Any other questions?
But
He's up here.
as you know, just to clarify, there are additional legislative requirements to keep ratios on the children. So if all 50 of those children were 6-week-old, you couldn't have 50. So we will abide by those ratios of teacher to children as well.
Yeah, I would just say that, I'm very familiar with childcare. You have to submit plans, you have to renovate this building to be compliant with building codes and safety codes, which are really not ZBA purview. And I'm assuming any changes you propose to the parking area or the old drive lanes for the bank, they're going to be submitted with your permit, so they'll be approved or not approved. So I really think it's strictly, and it does limit based on square footage.
It
the number,
does, correct. Yeah.
kids you can have, as well as staff. So I'm personally very familiar with that. So I think it's strictly a ZBA matter of the request, for a variance from the C1, in my opinion. So.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we completely agree with that, and we're ready to go through all the processes. We just need to get the okay first.
Exactly. So we have from review from state agencies. They're going to review the site both inside and outside. And if this board grants it, it'll be conditioned on planning board approval. So
Yeah, your whole design will be based on getting a license to operate from the state, so.
We've already been in touch with the state, so we're aware of all of those regulations. Yep. Oh, so we've actually submitted the site plan to the state already, and they've approved it. We also have a director here as well, that all her credentials have already been passed to the state and approved.
Thank you. So I was leading the charge on the safety issue. I'm a mother. I'm familiar with that area. I was curious to see which tenants were speaking in support because there are ones there that I don't find that are terribly conducive to childcare. I don't think my opinion is out in left field. So my concern was the distance between 102 and the location, as well as what the tenants were and the sort of parking, driving situation there. And for those members who are not lawyers on here, the representation that because it's not specifically prohibited, it's allowed is not the way that our zoning or most zoning ordinances are written. If it's not allowed, it's not allowed. So I didn't want you to be swayed by the representation there that because they specifically omitted that one sort of mechanical use that somehow the childcare, because it's not omitted, is allowed. And obviously, that's what you represented, that you're here for the variance, so we all understand that it is not an allowed use in that zone.
Sorry, if I may, I wasn't suggesting that it was allowed because it's not specifically prohibited. I was just looking at the intent of the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you.
sorry,
To me, if I were a layperson, I would have believed somehow that it was a gray area, then perhaps it was allowed because it was not specifically prohibited, and I just wanted those that are not attorneys to understand where we're at. So when I say to you, I'm concerned about the safety of the children, and that is what my concern is, I'm not sure that what you've told me makes me feel any better. The structure of how, and perhaps you're the owner of the property, the access, people fly through that off of, I don't know what the name of that road is, but comes from the Shaw's Plaza down the back way.
Orchard Drive.
Yeah, they just move through there. And it's a busy place. You've got some great tenants in there, and people are coming and going frequently with both the salon and the restaurant at the end. So I am concerned about, the amount of traffic that is there. It sounds like a great idea. I understand you have a lot of support here. I certainly understand my kids are not in daycare age anymore, and I understand what parents are going through. But at the same time, I think the zoning is written to allow certain businesses in certain areas for a reason. That is the reason that we have zoning. I guess I'm just still two issues that I have. I don't think that it's a reasonable use in that particular zone, and I have a safety concern. So I'm just going to throw it back out to you if you want to
Absolutely.
give me some more information.
I'm a parent as well, so whenever it comes to the safety of children, I absolutely agree. But we feel that this site is absolutely safe. So not only will we need state approval, which they've already approved the site plan, we're going to have to go before the planning board, which will review the site for safety as well. As I noted in my presentation, within the C3 zone, childcare facilities are permitted as a matter of right. Across the street from us is the C3 zone. So at the same site, if this proposed use was just across the street, it would be permitted. So I think it is a reasonable use in this area and at this site. We are not directly on 102. We are off of a side street from 102.
That building is directly on 102.
The
The front
property,
of
but
that
the-
building is on 102.
The access is not.
Correct.
Is that right, Connor?
Yep, that's
Yes,
correct.
no, because getting access off 102 would be problematic. Yeah.
And so when it came to the safety as well on Orchard View, we actually did some research on that, and we found that the road is classified as, remember the exact classifications? And so it's a Tier 5 road, which means that people travel slower on it and there's less congestion on it. We also reached out to Londonderry PD to get a drunk driving report, which was brought up last time from Superwalk, and in the last 3 years, there hadn't been anybody reported coming from that property in terms of alcohol. In terms of hours of operation, the restaurant operates at a higher capacity at hours that the daycare center would not be open. The salon is closed on Mondays. I run the Meg companies on the second floor of the building, and I only have a staff of 9 for 10,000 square feet, so we do not have a heavy traffic flow there. In terms of the speed of people coming into the plaza, which was exactly why we recommended any speed bumps, additional speed signage, and things of that, of course, being permitted by the town first before we make any of those modifications. But we're totally aware right now. The Nest operates and has dozens of children there every single day. On Mondays, when the salon is closed, they do an outside sing-along where they bring in people. They travel children across the parking lot right now under a canopy so that the kids can sing along with Elsa and the other people that they bring in, which we're all in support of. We love having them there. As myself, as a forward-going and hoping to have kids someday, I would be ecstatic if I could bring my kids and just drop them right next door. They've communicated with Londonderry Fire Department, Londonderry PD, asking about the safety before they did that outside events, because I, as landlord, had concerns about that for the safety, and the town said, nope, we don't have any safety concerns about that. They actually said they could do it under the shade along 102, and as responsible people, we did it in the back lot there. We've been doing that for over a year now with zero issues. It just really is, from a safety concern, I see no better spot. I mean, we are a real estate management company. We manage a lot of real estate, and I have plenty of buildings that I could explain that are not safe. This one specifically is probably the safest. The fact that both of our entrances are on Orchard View Drive, despite years ago us trying to get an entrance on 102, we couldn't. Whereas the building right next door does have a direct entrance to 102. From people driving on the 102 side, that's going to be the back of the building. The entrance to the daycare will be actually on the Orchard View Drive. We're willing to put in directory signage, arrows on the ground for a drop-off and pickup. We can have them in a totally separate parking lot, completely separated from the rest of the building. Willing to go the extra mile here because Jamie and Ryan, they've been tenants of ours for only a year, but they are just such great people. They're motivated in the town of Londonderry, and they want to bring this dream to reality. And I was skeptical when they first wanted to put in a coffee shop that catered to children because I didn't know many kids who did that. And then I saw their vision, I saw their build out, and I see what they do on a daily basis. The families who come to our shop, I'm sure if Amy was here now who owns Salon Bogar, she would say that she's probably driven more business to her salon just from the mothers who frequent their cafe because let's be real, right? A cup of coffee for $8 is a little pricey, but so you bring in a high-class clientele, and that's what the plaza is really worth. Over the last few years, we've marketed the space to various uses. I've had vape shops contact us. I've had different things that I just don't want to put on the property because it doesn't match the image and the clientele that we have. And for me, quite frankly, if I opened a vape shop in a 3,000 square foot vacant bank, which is a true person who sent me a letter of intent, and I denied it because I had such great hope in them, and that to me would be a bad use, but we could do it. Right? And so I just really want to see this go through, and so I'm sitting here today hoping that we can get the board's approval so we can go through the other processes, and it will be the planning board, it will be the state, it will be other hurdles that we'll have to cross that they've already tackled to make sure that the site does comply. When we look at the other sites in Londonderry that have daycare centers, not to point names or look at anything specifically, some that have already had approved variances to be in the C1 zone. We look at the roads that they're on and we look at the travel of the cars, and when we say the Tier 5 road that we're on is a lot safer than some of these other ones out there, we mean it because just by the state's classification, by the vehicle per day count, by the speeds that they traveled on the road, are much different than what we're asking for.
Thank you. Hours of operation for the business? Sorry.
As of right now, Ryan Getchell again. The pros hours right now are 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And Monday through Friday? So
Monday
not-
through Friday, correct.
Can I add something to your safety question?
Sure.
Jamie Gutchell, 3 Lilac Circle. I just wanted to come full circle on the safety question that you had. So when that was the concern of the board a couple months back, I went to the police department to pull records for the parking lot itself, and I had them look as far back as 3 years. So not only was there not a single drunk driving incident in the parking lot, but there was also not a single speeding violation in our parking lot. And we did notice multiple call-outs to our property. And when I asked the police department, what are all of these calls to the Nest Family Cafe, they told me that it's actually the opposite, where the police know that there's kids on the property, so they regularly patrol the parking lot, and there are safety checks. So we actually have the police coming through regularly, just like they do with the schools in town, providing us with frequent safety checks just to make sure that everything's running as it should in our space. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? I'll take it out.
I guess I do have two questions, but very brief, and I know it's been very lengthy, a reading of your, two things. I want it on the record, because you put it in your application, this is aimed at the owner, that you have tried to lease that Santander Bank unsuccessfully, and if so, for how long have you tried?
Yeah, so Santander vacated in October of 2020. And so we're
Yeah, it's been
in 3
it's been
years,
vacant for a long
month.
time.
I go there all the time, because we go to the.
It's been vacant for a long time.
Yeah, and so we've actively been looking, we've been searching. We had some interest and then it fell off. We had some uses that just really weren't conducive to the site. Like I mentioned, the more recent one was, a vape and glass and hookah shop that just isn't what we're trying to portray at that.
I get it. I just wanted you on the record to
Yes.
say that you tried. I go to that all the time, because I go to walk all the time.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to ask really was for the operator, and that, because I have to agree with our chair that just because there's a C3 across the street, this is not a C3, it's a C1, so to me, that's a non sequitur from the beginning. It's a non-starter, right? Argument, anyway. If you didn't have the Nest Cafe where it is, and I've seen it, I've been by it, would you ever looked at that bank building as a place to put your childcare? It's a fair question, right? Understanding this, the synergy between the two, of course, but if we weren't there, would you be looking at that location? Have you looked at other places that are zone C3 that you might be able to use? That's a fair question, right? Because you're asking for relief from a hardship.
Yeah, so we actually did look at other C3 zones. So commercially, for something that we're trying to do in a C3 zone, there isn't anything in Londonderry that fits our needs. I think a lot of these zones were done years and years ago when the uses of the town were very different. And so when you're trying to put in a daycare, there's, yes, there may be a C3 zone that's available, but if it doesn't have the conditions right for a daycare, then it's not going to work for us. So yes, we did look and there wasn't anything there.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
So understanding if we grant this, obviously a daycare center can be in there all the time. So as the owner, you're understanding that from a business decision.
Yeah,
that you're
I
putting
mean,
in there.
as the owner, if I could get a bank in there, they're the best tenant, right? But we are not to put anybody down, but they're not. And they're not expanding, they're not growing their retail operations. Chase Bank just bought the building next to another property that we have, Londonderry Commons, and they're buying a building with 10 plus tenants to tear it down and build a branch, but they didn't look at our branch. Unfortunately, we're a little far off 93 for what people are looking for. In that same plaza, Bank of America did not renew their lease for their ATM, and so it's just not a retail banking world like it used to be when the property was originally built and designed. And so, I'm super grateful that I have a willing tenant and occupant after 3 years, and think it's a great use for the building, and willing to help them along the way, hence sitting here tonight.
Okay. If the board doesn't have any questions, I will put it out to the audience. If anyone would like to speak in support, if you could come up to the podium and state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Ava Lane, and I live at 48 Shasta Drive in Londonderry. My husband and I have been residents there for nearly 40 years, and I saw an article in the newspaper talking about the last zoning board hearing that the Getzels and their team were at, and my husband and I both read it, and we were really kind of in disbelief that you had, it seemed to us, outright disapproved it, and I know you have to approve what's presented or not, but we had thought that, maybe, and we've never come to a meeting of any of the boards in town, we've never objected to any of the decisions, we read them, we try to, figure out what's going on, but we were really dismayed with this for a variety of reasons. One is, having been an educator for over 40 years, I do know of the crisis of childcare in New Hampshire and nationwide. There is a crisis, particularly in the southern part of the state. So my husband and I are nearing 70 years of age, and we are watching our 2 toddler grandchildren as of this time. And my son and his wife also live in town. We've attended a number of the events at the cafe, and we go there occasionally to have an hour of sanity, to have a cup of coffee, talk while the kids are playing. We came to watching our grandchildren because my son and daughter-in-law, who are both professionals, work with children who are autistic and who are challenged in school and have been actually suspended or thrown out of their schools. One of them was going to have to resign from work and stay home with the children because there was nothing in the area that would take an infant, a licensed facility like is being proposed here, that would take an infant and a toddler at the same time because there were no spaces. And my son and daughter-in-law started from the time she found out she was pregnant with the second child. So we gave up our retirement to watch the 2 children for a couple of years. We've toured with them to different facilities. There are a number of facilities in Londonderry that I would consider unsafe. There are 2 that I know there have been accidents right into their play areas. And in the last year and a half, we looked at a number of licensed facilities and there weren't openings, but we had decided based on their location that, we wouldn't choose those facilities anyway. We would probably take care of the children maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and then they would look for childcare the other days. So they continued to look throughout this past year. You can go to an unlicensed facility, and someone will take on as many children as you want to give them, but that's not the environment they want or we want for our grandchildren. The professionalism, the care, the safety considerations that the Getchels put into their cafe are phenomenal. I don't know if any of you all have ever been there. We've been there with children and without children, and we find it a safe, caring, and nurturing place. In this community, there is a real need for that safe, caring, and nurturing place, particularly for drop-off type childcare. And I know that my family, my extended family, and friends of ours, people who live on our street, on our side street, have all talked about it and have been excited about it, having heard about it from us reading it in the newspaper and going there as visitors. I would hope that you all would be able to somehow work with this family and the owner of the property to at least allow them to move forward in this process. There are others who will look at the safety and some of those ground ramifications or modifications that may need to be made. But I would hope that you would at least consider that this is a great opportunity for families in the town of Londonderry to have a place where they can go potentially, be in one room working while their child or children are being cared for, where they know they're in a safe, healthy, nurturing environment that's licensed by the state of New Hampshire. There are not a ton of licensed facilities in the area. I just think that, we've talked about it so much that it would be great to just see this begin to move forward so it could be a reality.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name's Ted Coleman. I've been in Londonderry for 4 years now. We live at Cross Farms, 6 October Lane. I was 38 years in retail, and then I had my own registered investment advisory business where I work with people to develop a plan before they got in retirement or after they got in retirement so they'd have the cash flow to get them through their retirement years. I started with Ryan and Jamie 2 years ago. I'm a SCORE volunteer. If you've never heard of SCORE, what we do is help people who are starting in a new business to develop the proper plans that they need to get the business off the ground. Or we help businesses that want to grow and enhance. So I met them 2 years ago. Ryan had developed a 34-page business plan, the most complete of which I've ever seen. And Jamie knows social media like you wouldn't believe. These are the smartest, industrious, and hardworking people and creative that I've ever worked with. I've had about 30 clients since I've been with SCORE. The success of the Nest Cafe would probably attest to this. They're off to a booming start. The adjacent bank became available, and in a creative fashion, they came up with a plan for a childcare business acutely needed locally and nationally. I read the Wall Street Journal every day, having been in the finance business, and there isn't a week that goes by that there's not an article that indicates the dearth of child care centers nationally and locally. The cost of care for most people is prohibitive. The result, it becomes less expensive to have one of the spouses not work instead of both working. It's cheaper to keep one of the spouses at home than to pay for child care. Finding placement is, as indicated before, is next to impossible. It's the reason that you've probably read about the participation rate in the country, that's in the percent of people that could work, aren't working. It's 63% or a little bit less. And this certainly adds to it. It leads to greater inflation because of the prices that would be going up. Ryan and Jamie have an innovative and ingenious plan to help solve this problem, at least locally. They've created plans whereby the more you use, the less cost per hour. They created an app plan where you determine the number of hours you need, and you can pick the program. It will give you the least cost per hour. They've had no problem in hiring. You've also probably read about companies have a hard time hiring people. They have no problem. When they have present an ad in social media, they get 5 to 10 people applying for a position. They have happy employees. You ought to go in there, they're helpful, they're happy. This is an addition to the community that would be second to none. If you have happy employees, smart people running it, you're going to have a successful business. I think it's something that the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, sorry, I'm short. I relocated to New Hampshire 4 years ago.
Could we get your name and
Oh,
address?
Wendy Cohen. I relocated to New Hampshire 4 years ago, not knowing anyone or not having any friends or family locally. I didn't have a place to socialize or to help my daughter mingle with other children. Since they opened up in 2022, my daughter and I have been regular customers at the Family Nest Cafe. We go there almost every week, and we've never had any safety issues with them. The environment has always provided a hospitable and warm, welcoming atmosphere. Jamie and Ryan and her team have consistently welcomed us and ensured comfort within the setting. I'm thrilled about the possibility of the Nest Family Cafe growing into a larger facility, the Nest Family Center, providing on-demand childcare and space for co-working. This would be an extremely valuable addition to Londonderry. Having the opportunity to chat with other moms and initiate connections that might potentially transform into friendships is invaluable. I have met a lot of moms there, and the friendships that have come out of there, I truly appreciate them. I love the idea of having an outdoor playground that's fenced in and perfect for sunny days, and I'm sure my 3-year-old daughter would absolutely love that. You can say I am a mom that works from home, so this would benefit me where I can bring my daughter there, she can play. I could drop her off for a few hours. I could do my work in the co-working area, and then I know she's in great hands with Jamie and Ryan and the team that they established there. The Nest Family Cafe has helped me feel more comfortable talking to other moms and sharing our lives within the community. I'm naturally an introvert, and it's always been a struggle for me to socialize with other moms. Yet, the Nest Family Cafe has always allowed me to feel comfortable in that setting and have candid conversation with other moms. I totally support and think that expanding the Nest Family Center would be great for parents and kids to help them develop their social skills, as it has helped my daughter and I. The city of Londonderry would be very lucky to have the Family Nest Cafe continue to grow and touch more lives in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel Savoy. My business address is 25 Orchard View Drive, home address 4 Sprucewood Avenue in Nashua. I wasn't sure if you're going to be reading the letters of support, but I'm going to read mine so that you can put a face to my name.
Great.
I'm writing this letter to express my unwavering support for granting a variance to the Nest Family Center to operate a drop-in childcare center in our community. To put it in the simplest of terms, granting this variance would quite literally change my entire life for the better. In January of this year, I came to know the Nest Family Cafe after becoming a new mom to a little girl named Quinn and needing to find a space within the community that not only welcomed me and my 8-month-old daughter, but embraced us. Having grown up in southern New Hampshire my entire life, the cafe was the talk of the town among my friends and quickly became our go-to spot for playdates with little ones. Before having Quinn, I was an elementary school counselor and worked in public education for over 7 years. After negotiating my contract, I was able to take a year-long maternity leave for the 2022-23 school year, with the intent to return this fall of 2023. To fill my time and take on something outside of motherhood before returning to my full-time career in the fall, I applied for the event coordinator / social media manager position at the Nest Family Cafe. I was offered the part-time position and enthusiastically dove into my new creative role, working closely with Jamie Getchell and supporting her everyday needs as a small business owner. As the months went by, my work at the Nest became so much more meaningful as I began to truly get to know Jamie and her husband Ryan for the humans that they are, in addition to the business that they run. My respect for the Getchells was, and still is, immeasurable as I watched them manage and grow a successful business while simultaneously intertwining the roles of mom and dad to their 3 young children, Nora, Piper, and Wyatt. In such a short amount of time, the Getchell family quickly became people I knew my husband Kyle and I, along with our daughter Quinn, would be connected with forever. As the relationship and trust built between all of us, Jamie and Ryan shared their next great endeavor, the Nest Family Center. Having worked with children and parents in my career, I knew instantly that this drop-in model would take off due to the dire need of childcare, not only in our community, but the nation as a whole. Given my background in working with children and a master's degree in education, coupled with my belief in their childcare model, Jamie and Ryan offered me the position of director at the Nest Family Center. My husband and I were ecstatic, thinking about the opportunity and what that would mean for our family financially, while also allowing me to leave public education and spend more time with Quinn and take on a new and even more meaningful role closer to home. Though with this offer came great risk, as with any new business. In June of this year, I needed to either sign my contract to return as a school counselor at my school this fall, or resign from the district and wait for the Nest Family Center to officially open its doors in order to take on the role of director. Needless to say, I took the risk, and I enthusiastically chose the latter. On the evening of July 19th, Kyle and I sat in the living room, Quinn already asleep in her crib, when Jamie and Ryan called to share the news that the variance had not been granted. I felt a sense of fear run through my body, wondering what this would mean for my family's future. My resignation had already been submitted, My family's health insurance plan had already stopped. I was no longer contributing toward my pension or any retirement accounts. And the future suddenly became gray instead of black and white as it had always been for the majority of my adult life. I wondered how this one decision could suddenly affect the trajectory of not only me, but Kyle and Quinn's lives as well. Since that meeting, my husband and I have continued to spend countless nights brainstorming ways we can make this work for our family financially and without childcare of our own, while we wait for the lease to be signed at 25 Orchard View Drive, and I can take on my new role. While I say this decision could alter my life, I mean it. Our dual income home is at a standstill, our own childcare needs unresolved, and for the first time in my life, my future as a working mom feels really frightening. Each day that passes by without progress towards the Nest Family Center opening its doors is another day Kyle and I shift our plans and tell ourselves to just hang on one more day. With that said, I ask you to reconsider your decision for granting a variance to allow a child care facility in the Commercial 1 zoning district, 25 Orchard View Drive. I ask you to keep in mind the long-term benefits that granting this variance will bring to our town and my own family's future. Kyle, Quinn, and I thank you and trust that you will make the right decision for the betterment of our entire community.
Thank you.
Hi. Ashton Burke, 4 Elaine Avenue in Derry.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, so I didn't prepare anything. I just typed up some things on my phone, but I definitely wanted to speak on their behalf. So I have 2 kids, 2 small children, a 5-month-old and a 2.5-year-old that I regularly bring to the Nest, and I know the owners as well. Incredible people, they're kind, caring, and their passion for their community is inspiring. I know that they wouldn't be trying to do this if they didn't believe that it was in the best interest for the community as a whole. I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom, trying to also work part-time, which is a challenge. So with this child care center, I'd be able to work more and more easily because they'd be offering child care at an affordable rate, but also because of the drop-in nature, I can't afford full-time child care, and a lot of centers won't take you for part-time. So that would allow me to get some work done and also provide more income for my family, which in this economy is needed. Their business, the Nest Cafe, is one of the only reasons I've come to Londonderry. And because of the Nest, I've made appointments at the salon next door. So I'm a prime example of how they're bringing visitors from the surrounding areas to the town of Londonderry, creating, more opportunities for other businesses and helping them grow. I've worked in multiple child care centers. I've nannied for many families. I also have a bachelor's in early childhood education and a master's in education. So I'm very aware of the challenges that exist within the child care world. And I firmly believe that this proposal is a genius idea, kind of wish I thought of it myself, and that many parents will be super grateful for what they're wanting to provide. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do you have anybody else? Okay.
Do you want me to read some of the letters until?
Sure.
Okay. First letter from Amy Lamparelli, Salon Bogar, 25 Orchard View Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, dated August 4th, 2023. Subject, expressing support for the Nest Family Center Business Expansion and Daycare Edition. To whom it may concern, I am writing to you as the owner of Salon Bogar, a well-established business in the vibrant community of Londonderry, New Hampshire for the last 33 years. I am thrilled to express my enthusiastic support for the expansion plans of our business neighbors, the Nest Family Center, and their proposal to introduce a daycare service to their establishment. As an active participant in our local business community, I recognize the tremendous value that small businesses like the Nest Family Center bring to our town. Their dedication to providing quality services and fostering a welcoming environment has undoubtedly contributed to the unique charm and vitality of Londonderry. The prospect of the Nest Family Center expanding their offerings to include a daycare service is not only an exciting development, but also a forward-thinking endeavor that aligns perfectly with the evolving needs of our community. The addition of a daycare service could have a profoundly positive impact, providing families in Londonderry with a convenient and trusted solution for childcare. I am particularly excited about the potential synergy that this expansion could create between our businesses. With the proposed daycare service, parents would have the opportunity to drop off their children at the Nest Family Center, creating a seamless experience for them to then visit my salon for services or explore the offerings at my boutique. This great relationship has the potential to enhance foot traffic and engagement for both of our businesses, ultimately contributing to the economic growth and prosperity of our community. In conclusion, I wholeheartedly endorse the Nest Family Center's expansion plans and their desire to incorporate a daycare service. I firmly believe that their commitment to providing quality services aligns with the values we hold dear in Londonderry. I am confident that this expansion will not only benefit the Nest Family Center, but also enrich the entire town, fostering a more vibrant and interconnected business landscape. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm excited about the positive impact this expansion could have on our community and look forward to witnessing the growth and success of both of our businesses. Sincerely, Amy Lamparelli, owner, Salon Bogar. Do you want to have her?
No, you can keep going.
Okay. The Meg Companies, August 7th, 2023. To whom it may concern, the Meg Companies, I'm sorry, is it MEG or Meg?
It's Meg.
Thank you. Is the largest tenant at 25 Orchard View Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire. We have no objections to the Nest Family Center converting the vacant bank building on the property into a child care center. For any employees with young children, having this center on site would be an added benefit. The Meg Companies, Connor Morriso, 8/7/23. To whom it may concern, dated August 7th, 2023. I am the owner of Superwalk, located at 25 Orchard View Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053. I have no objections to the Nest Family Center converting the vacant bank building on the property into a child care center. Superwalk. Printed name is Kwang Jung Fen, and the signature is Fen. He is the president, and it is dated August 7th, 2023. So we have three additional letters in support. One is from Rachel Savoy, who I believe already read her letter, so I won't reiterate that. Second letter is titled Support for a Child Care Center at 25 Orchard View Drive in Londonderry. It's from Ava Lane, 48 Shasta Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053, August 5th. She also spoke. I don't know if she read our letter. Do you want me to read it or not? You'd like me to read it? Okay. Londonderry Zoning Board of Adjustment. As I read the August 3rd, 2023 Londonderry Times newspaper, I was dismayed to learn that the board denied the variance request for a child care facility at 25 Orchard View Drive. There is a dire need nationally, statewide, and locally for quality child care, and I was shocked that the board could not find a way to work with the Getchels and the Brylar Corporation to make the center a reality. The suppositions about traffic flow and how this business would relate to the other businesses appears to me to be clouded, and there are already children using the premises with their families. Many of these same families and ours would certainly be more apt to use the salon or the boutique, meet families for lunch at the restaurant, etc., if we could drop off a child for a couple of hours of care. The Getchels own and operate a very successful child and family-oriented business right next door to the proposed child care facility. The cafe venue has met a much-needed option for a fun, safe indoor space for families in Londonderry and the surrounding area. The child care center would do the same. The owners have worked diligently over the past year to make their business a success and to meet the needs of the community. They listen to their customers and adapt to needs. One of the topics often heard being discussed by customers in the cafe is the need for childcare. Families are looking for a daily and drop-in care in the community, and the concept of the parent being able to work in a room adjacent to where their children are being cared for is a superb concept. As grandparents, my husband and I care for our toddler grandsons. We care for them daily during the work week due to the fact that their parents could not find a suitable situation for childcare for the children that would allow them to both be at one site in Londonderry. We often take them to the Nest Family Cafe to allow ourselves a little break and to let them interact with the other similarly aged children, which is important for positive child development. Through our visits to the cafe, we have observed how well organized, caring, and particularly the Getchels are in operating that business, and know that they would be the same way with the child care center. I have lived in Londonderry for nearly 40 years and have never spoken against any decisions made by this or any other board in town. However, in light of the dire need for child care in town, I do feel that this request was not clearly and fully considered and ask you to please reconsider your decision and allow a variance in this case. Sincerely, Ava Lane. Next one starts, to whom it may concern. I am the mother of 3 young children, aged 16 months to 6 years. I am also a per diem outpatient physical therapist and independent business owner. As you can imagine, I am busy. The nature of my business and employment makes for constantly evolving schedules. As a per diem physical therapist, especially, I am at the mercy of how well my schedule is booked and the cancellations in the clinic that day. In my family's attempt to thwart the ever-rising and unmanageable daycare costs, along with policies that have become ever more stringent since the COVID-19 pandemic, I moved to a per diem position to avoid the penalty of loss of earned time due to children being sick and my needing to stay home with them. The Nest Family Cafe is a wonderful, pleasant, fun, and safe place to bring my kids for downtime and events. The owners, Ryan and Jamie, are thoughtful and trustworthy individuals. The model for daycare they are proposing would be exceptionally helpful to my situation. The flexibility they would allow, including the ability to drop in as needed, as well as save money when you were scheduled for some hours in their facility, but then do not need it. This works well for someone like myself who would plan on working 4 to 6 hours, but then be told not to come in due to cancellations. As per diem, I do not get paid for that time, and I appreciate not having to pay for someone to watch my children if it is not necessary. At the same time, my independent business may at times call for quick turnover of product. It would be nice to have the flexibility to have my littlest go play with some friends at their daycare for a few hours while I get some work done on a more last-minute notice, and I know he'll be safe. This model is very attractive to families who require more flexibility. This is also an appealing model to people who are uncomfortable with hiring individuals whom they do not know well or at all to come into their homes to watch their children, but also do not need or cannot afford full-time/part-time constant daycare. The rigidity that current daycare models offer, which includes paying for tuition/time despite not using it, i.e. vacation, kids are sick, long wait lists, and accessibility, is frustrating for many people. I feel the community would benefit greatly from a different model of daycare that allows for more flexibility and personalization to specific family needs. Thank you for taking the time to read this letter. Sincerely, Samantha Delp, PT, DPT, owner of Lily's Boutique, LLC. The next letter is from Early Learning NH, dated August 16th, 2023. It's directed to Jamie Getchell. Dear Ms. Getchell, Early Learning NH, a statewide nonprofit organization with a mission to ensure that all New Hampshire children have the opportunity to reach their full potential, is pleased to write you this letter in support for your effort to expand child care facilities for working parents living or working in and around the town of Londonderry. Opening a new child care business helps the local economy and helps keep people working. In our organization's 20 years of existence in New Hampshire, we have never witnessed a greater need for more child care spaces for the workforce. It is harder than ever, both in our state and nationally, for hardworking families to find spots. Before the pandemic, spaces were already at a premium and hard to get. Today, it is even tougher as more childcare businesses than usual have shuttered in the last few years, and 30% report having to close down at least one classroom, as it is so tough to hire. Parents also report difficulty affording childcare. No parent should have to choose between the job they need and the child they love. More opportunities with more childcare spaces is an important part of the solution. All of us in the Granite State working together on both the state and town level is the best way we will tackle the current childcare crisis. Now more than ever, towns and cities are an important component in ensuring childcare businesses can thrive. Do let us know if you should need any further information, as we will be pleased to provide it. Sincerely, Jackie Cowell, Executive Director of Early Learning NH. The next letter is also addressed to Ms. Getchell. It is August 15th, 2023. Dear Ms. Getchell, the New Hampshire Child Care Advisory Council is the legislatively enacted body with the following mandate. The purpose of the NHCCAC is to support the development of quality, affordable child care statewide and provide a forum for the gathering and dissemination of information among groups concerned with child care and related services, to advise and make recommendations to the Commissioner of the Department of Health and Human Services on general policies and legislation regarding child care, and to inform and communicate with the Office of the Governor and the Commissioner of the Department of Education. On behalf of the Executive Committee, I'm happy to provide you with a letter of support for you to share with the Zoning Board and other Londonderry officials about the importance of expanding child care opportunities here in New Hampshire. All industries in the Granite State are finding it difficult today to retain and recruit employees. The child care industry is no different. What is different is that every one child care teacher allows about 8 other employees in state to go back to work. Child care professionals in New Hampshire are known as the workforce behind the workforce because they support today's workforce while preparing tomorrow's. I would be happy to be of any further assistance, so please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely yours, Marianne Barter, Chair.
Thank you. There's a lot.
I have 2 more letters here, if I may enter those as well. So one is from the Amy M. Lamparelli, also from Salon Bogarba. She also owns Sorlita Boutique and wanted to write it as the owner-operator of that. To whom it may concern, I am the owner of Sorlina Boutique located at 25 Orchard View Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053. I have no objection to the Nest Family Center converting the vacant bank building on the property into a child care center. Sorlina Boutique, Amy Lampanelli, signature A. Lampanelli, title owner, dated 8/10/23. I also have another letter that we just received today, dated yesterday, October 18th, 2023. Dear members of the Londonderry Zoning Board, I am writing this letter on behalf of Ryan and Jamie Getchell, owners of the Nest Family Cafe, in support of their request to turn the vacant bake building next door to the cafe into the Nest Family Center. As a homeschooling mom to a young child and a small business owner, time to myself to get a project completed or to run an errand or to go to a medical appointment is not possible during the day. I am lucky enough to have a spouse that works hard every day to allow me the opportunity to stay at home with our family, but with that comes long hours away and little to no support with daily activities. An establishment such as the Nest Family Center would be an incredible asset to the community and other busy families that are both full-time caregivers and business owners. Having a safe place for my child to play with peers and learn social skills while I am able to work in a private space or run a few errands on my own is a great idea. Childcare availability in this area is already challenging. Most traditional childcare settings require a full-time commitment and high costs. Sometimes families that are able to stay home with their children do not need. Having a day or even a few hours to complete tasks or attend a meeting does not fit into the current childcare model. This business model fills that void. A safe and highly qualified space where families can feel comfortable leaving their child when the situation arises. There have been many times over the past few years where, as a parent, I needed to be able to attend a health appointment or other meeting and needed care for my child. I would have utilized this model or care in a heartbeat, both then and now. Over the past year, I have gotten to know both Jamie and Ryan through their current business, the Nest Cafe. My child attended their free storytime events weekly and fell in love. Both Ryan and Jamie treat every one of their customers like family. My child looks forward to our weekly trip, and so do I. As time moved forward, Ryan and Jamie have become more than just the owners of the Nest. They have become friends. I have no doubt in my mind that the Nest Family Center will flourish. Jamie and Ryan saw a need, and they have created a business model to fill it. Every family that walks through their doors will feel the love they have for their staff and families. I look forward to seeing Ryan and Jamie succeed in their dreams in creating this space. I ask that the board approve their request for the variance to turn the vacant building into the Nest Family Center without reservation. Sincerely, Lauren M. Champlain, full-time mom and small business owner, Bedford, New Hampshire.
Did you want to?
Oh, sure, thank you. Would you like copies of these?
My name's Angela Rock. My address is 11 Argomat Road in Derry. I wasn't expecting to speak and I have nothing prepared, but I feel compelled to speak on behalf of Jamie and Ryan. The reason I know them, we first met, our daughters are in school together and they are in the same class. They are two of basically the most wonderful people I know, and I'm blessed to have them in my life. I would trust them with my life. I would trust my child with them as well. And they have a vision, they have a dream, and they want to make that happen to help families, mothers, children in the community. And I've never met two people that care more about those things in my life. And I just hope that you all can see that and can help that dream become a reality. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in support this evening? That was a lot of support. Do we have anyone in opposition this evening? Okay, seeing none. Any questions back to the board? Do you want to make any further comments? Sure.
Briefly.
Go ahead.
I think we submitted a lot of evidence, especially with our motion for rehearing with respect to safety. I listened intently to everyone that came up here, and I haven't heard any evidence that this property is unsafe. I don't believe any of that evidence exists and is before this board. The operators talked to the Londonderry Police. We've provided 3 years of police reports with respect to this property. It is a safe property. We have testimony from the owner and the operator and the applicant, all who testified that the property is safe. We had multiple people from the public that came up that said they frequent the Nest Family Cafe with their children. They attend events. So for over a year now, this property has been operating with children on site, and there's been no issues with respect to safety. Also, we heard from the operators that they've gone through state approval for the site. The state looks at safety. Their main job is to look for safety with respect to the children, and their site has been approved. Also, if this board is to grant this variance, we'll have to go through planning board review, which will also look at the site and look at safety. We're willing to make any modifications to the site that this board deems necessary as well. So to sum up, I don't believe there's any evidence that this site is unsafe. I think we've addressed the board's concern. If there is additional evidence the board would like us to supply, we can do that. Or if there's modifications the board would like to see, we're willing to make those modifications as well. But again, this goes through state review and also planning board review. I'd also want to address some of the comments that were made that this use is not reasonable because it's not allowed. Frankly, I addressed this in the motion for hearing, but that's an illegal justification to deny this variance. You can't deny a variance because you need a variance. So I'll just leave you with that.
I think if you were quoting me, that was a misquote, but, okay.
Okay.
Fine. Anything else from this board?
No.
Okay. We will close the public portion of this hearing and go into deliberation. You got any voice left to?
I can read them.
Okay. You have someone that can write? Or
I'll write too.
they're going to write too?
Sure.
Okay.
Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because
Catching up with you here. Sorry.
We're into deliberation. So, again, we always look at is that altering the character of the neighborhood. So I think council here at the 11th hour brought forth that this property has been operating with children in the past year. So it seems to be operating fine. So my initial concern about altering the character of the neighborhood, I think, has been addressed with the support and the comments and the representation, again, that this has been operating with children for a year. That's where I'm coming from.
No, I agree with you. I think the presentation of it, what was heard tonight was very different than what we heard the first
Absolutely.
time. And what we heard tonight, I think, addressed that concern for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I wasn't here for the other hearing, but I would agree with that.
Yep.
It's strictly a zoning thing to me. It's not the safety.
So I would say it is not contrary.
So granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the area has had a business focused on children, or?
Yes,
Okay.
already. For over a year. The tenants in the building seem to be in support as well, that it's not altering the character of the neighborhood.
Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because?
I think it would be observed, but there's two things, and you guys will tell me if you agree. One is that that's why I asked the question about the use of the property and the ability of the current owner of the property to lease that in a gainful manner. So this gives that opportunity. And the other one would be that the need for childcare.
Yeah. So, okay, the spirit one sort of is the health safety, which is where we really fell down in the first time. So again, I think that those have definitely been addressed, particularly in comparison to the first presentation. I think that although pushing off the safety to the planning board, they are required to take the property with the variance on there. So it is important that we flush it out here as well. It's not a simple push it off to the planning board. So, but with that said, I think that I feel more comfortable that the health, safety, and welfare of the children in the community has been met.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the police records we received, the information we received of that particular road, and the fact that there frankly has already been a business there that's focused on children.
Right.
And there hasn't been an issue. I think that all, supports that the spirit of the ordinance would be observed.
I agree. Okay.
Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because I think it would.
It would.
I think
Agreed.
it would be a greater loss to them than. For the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished.
I would say not. Sorry about that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would say we did not get any evidence one way or the other, so it's fine.
Yeah, I would say would not. I think having that bank building vacant is worse than having a business in it. Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because I would.
So, always my personal favorite. I think that because the access road that they would be taking is the road less traveled, because there are two separate buildings, so that building is actually separated from the balance of the businesses, that gives it some space. I think that does provide, there's no other building in that area that looks like that particular building.
Right.
I think that it does qualify for it being unique, and that applying the provisions in this case would be an unnecessary hardship.
I agree with you.
I agree.
I agree. Excuse me.
The proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because?
It's a reasonable one, given the testimony today, not because of another facility, another location nearby, and also because of demonstrated plans that were submitted with a rehearing document. So it's a reasonable one, yes.
I agree with
I
you.
agree.
So with that, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, should we add as a comment restriction subject to site plan review?
Well, we can, it would be required anyway, so it's a change of use that will require both
okay.
that and
Yeah,
a site plan,
change
but
of
you can
use.
note it as a condition.
Okay.
I think that hurts.
In case number 7/19/2023-4, the request for a rehearing of a variance from 4.1.2 Table of Uses to allow a childcare facility in the Commercial 3 zoning district, I'd like to make a motion to grant the variance with the condition that it is subject to site plan review.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
And for those that are out there, we do have one open position. If you would like to sit on
How
this
do we
side.
apply?
If you want to sit on this side of the board, then you can see what this job is like. But thank you all, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kids in that place or what? Oh, she does. Is it on Buttrick Road?
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. Can I just, what did you write down here? Coochie coo.
We all set?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
Case number 1018-2023-1, a request for a variance from 4.2.1.3.c.4 to permit encroachment into the 40-foot front setback for the construction of an above-ground pool. The parcel is located at 29 West Road in the Agricultural Residential AR1 zoning district, tax map 2, lot 38-1, Christopher and Stephanie Kania, owner and applicant.
Who's going to be presenting this evening? Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Chris Kenya, 29 West Road.
Welcome.
And yes, I am seeking a variance to install an above-ground pool within the 40-foot setback. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because it does not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Installing a pool neither increases nor decreases the property value in the area. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because it does not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, nor threaten the health, safety, or welfare of the general public. Substantial justice is done because there is no gain to the public by denying the variance. The values of surrounding properties are not diminished because the pool will not be visible as it will be installed behind a 6-foot tall privacy fence. And, excuse me, for point number 5, the unnecessary hardship. This property sits on a corner lot, so if I was not on a corner lot, I would be within that 15-foot setback. I had previously, I think back in 2016, got a variance for that 6-foot-high privacy fence, and it would be inside that fence. There's also the location of my leach field, you know, was kind of a thought of I'll put it somewhere else so I wouldn't have to come up here and get a variance, but, you know, the location of my leach field will not allow for that to happen. So I'm kind of locked into, you know, where I want to put this. I did provide a map kind of showing the overhead view of well, there it is.
Yep, we got it.
So you can see the shaded area in red. That's where my approximate leach field is. You can see the area shaded in blue. That's where the proposed pool location is. And as you can see, it's inside the fence.
So it looks like there's something there already. What is that?
What's that?
In the blue area, behind the fence.
Oh, my kid's swing set that took
No,
me
that's a swing set, right?
2 days to
Set.
build.
They okay with that? Moving the swing set to get the pool?
Yes.
I figured they might be. Any questions from the board?
Not for me.
It's the location of that privacy fence is along Sunset Drive, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Actually, I had a bunch of questions, but I think you've answered them because I found the diagram confusing, frankly. But because I was confused by the same things that you were.
What is that?
I was like, what is that? Is that a diving board for your pool? Where you pull? You see, I'm saying it's a little confusing, but it's behind a privacy fence, correct? It will be behind the privacy fence.
Yes, correct.
And it will be contained by your privacy fence, so it would not be a health and welfare issue where somebody just stroll and, well, they could jump the fence, but they won't stroll in off the street and just jump in your pool.
Correct.
Okay, how tall is that pool gonna be?
I believe it's 52 inches.
You know, it's about 4 foot, 4'6", you know.
Yep.
I don't have any other questions, Madam Chair.
Anybody else? Okay. Anything else you want to? We can go to deliberation. Oh, sorry.
Audience.
I got to go out to the audience. Does anyone want to speak in support of this matter?
There's a letter in support.
There's a letter of support.
Let's hear the letter.
For Maria Isabel Fugere, or Fugeri, 3 Sunset Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire 03053 to the Londonderry Zoning Board of Adjustment. We see no issue with the owner of 29 West Road encroaching into the buffer zone for the stated above-ground pool construction, especially given that it will be contained within the fence already in existence. As a consideration, I ask that they please use a pool water delivery service and refrain from using well water, as we share the same waterbed. I would also prefer that no trees be affected by this proposed construction. Sincerely, Marie Fugere.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in support? Seeing none, anyone in opposition to this? Seeing none.
I did have, actually, I apologize, one additional question.
Go right ahead. I was just going to say one more time and back to the board.
Is the fence already fully encapsulating the backyard?
No.
So there is access that someone could potentially go around that fence?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a
there's
requirement
already
that you have to have a locking gate on an above-ground pool, which,
Yeah.
right.
As long as, yeah.
It doesn't even have to have that much fence.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, are we ready to deliberate? Okay, I'll close the public hearing portion.
All set?
All set.
Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because, I would say would not,
I agree.
Agreed.
does not change the essential character of the neighborhood. Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because, I would say it would.
You would.
I agree.
Agreed.
No threat to health, safety, welfare. Granting the variance would or would not do substantial justice because, I would say it would.
I
I think
agree.
it's a greater loss
Agreed.
to the applicant. For the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished. I would say would not.
I agree.
Agreed.
Owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because I would say there is not.
Agreed.
It's a
I
corner
agree.
lot with two setbacks, a leach field in the middle.
Corner lot.
The proposed use is or is not a reasonable one because
It's reasonable.
okay.
I want to rush you, but somebody would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 1018-2023-1 to grant the request for a variance from 4.2.1.3.c.4 to permit encroachment to the 40-foot setback for the construction of an above-ground pool.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Any against? Any conditions? Congratulations.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be over to use it soon.
What's that?
Be over to use it soon.
All right, last but not least.
Case number 1018-2023-2, a request for a variance from 4.2.1.3.c.1 and 4.2.3.c.2 to permit an encroachment into the 40-foot front setback and 15 feet side setback for the construction of an addition. Parcel is located at 41 Noyes Road in the AR1 zoning district, Taps Map 15, Lot 41. Stacy and Brian Meskel, owners, and Arthur Carbone, applicant.
Who is presenting? Come on up.
So we're all nervous about talking in front of everybody, so we're all arguing.
Well, now you don't have to,
Okay.
saving the best for last.
Stacy Meskel, 41 Noyes Road, owner.
Thank you. You want to give us a little background, what you're doing, and then we can go through
Okay, thank you. So we have a single-family ranch home, and we have an existing deck that's built on the home. And I'm just looking to enclose the deck to make a more living room, because as we have 3 kids, 2 of them are getting older. So I just wanted to expand the deck, well, expand the house onto the deck to make that a living room, so I can change my living room to a dining room, so when they come back with their children, I actually have a place that I could house my holidays in.
So what we don't have is how far into each setback you're going. It just says, right, so it shows that there's an encroachment to the 40-foot setback. How deep are you going in there, do you know?
Can you see on the picture?
I can, but usually we get sort of footage.
Oh, I gave,
halfway into the middle of the house. No going no further than that.
can I go point? We gave you guys a picture of our property.
Just to be clear,
Yes.
if we were to approve you for, say, encroaching 15 feet into the setback, but your property actually encroaches, say, 17 feet into the setback, it would not be in compliance.
We're just removing the deck and putting a
I
family room there.
totally understand what you want to do, and I'm not even saying that we would approve it or not, but without accurate measurements of how far into that setback it is on each side, you would, even if we approved you, you may still be out of compliance. I don't want you to have to come back.
Right, so,
What does it mean by the setback?
okay, so we're going to direct it to the applicants here. So typically, someone would come in and ask for a variance that we're going to encroach 20 feet into the 40-foot setback. And that's how we would approve it, and that's how you would build, and when you go to pull your permit,
It's
that's
around
what.
20 feet from the street.
So it's risky for you to say around 20 feet, because.
I don't know.
So what we're suggesting is that, and I hate to tell you that because you've been sitting here all night, but I think that you want to get more accurate footage so that we can
Like from the street.
review this appropriately.
Out the owner's house.
So wouldn't that be on the paper that I had? that
Did you,
guys-
I'm sorry, did you have, you might have, I agree with everybody here, I think. We understand what you're saying, so we're not necessarily against what you're proposing, but do you have an old survey of your property? Do you have,
I
maybe the
did,
town
but
can
he-
provide a GIS to you or something?
Gave it to
but-
you guys.
So
Even the GIS is not something
not
that we
accurate
can, no,
enough,
we
yeah.
can't rely on it.
You do this for a living.
So where do you get that
what I do.
information? Right.
Right, well, that's not the town hall's fault.
So
That's,
what do we-
so you have, you can either pace it out yourself. It's, what's your plan? If you've got somebody that's planning on building that addition, then they should have the dimensions of what it's going to be
When's your next meeting?
next month. I know, we only meet once a
Snow
month.
on the ground.
If I point, can you, I'm more visual, I'm not.
You have to measure from the street. Measure.
I mean, we can,
If we put
So where the
forward
deck is?
tonight that you want 10 feet or 5 feet or 15 feet or whatever number that we come up with that is our best guess, and again, it would have to come from you, and you're wrong even by 1 foot, I'm not saying that the town is going to be this necessarily strict about it, but in worst case scenario,
Well,
the
they-
time, money, and investment that
Wouldn't
you're
even
putting
be back
into it,
here.
you'd
Yeah,
either
yeah.
have to come back here and do it again,
Yeah.
or they would require that you tear it down.
Okay, so what do I?
I don't
do?
want you to have to go through that, which is a significantly worse case.
right. So you just ask for a continuance and we will put you on first for the next hearing.
Can I ask Kelly a question? I don't know how, I haven't applied for a permit in this town. My house is built by a developer, a builder. But any place I've worked, submitting for a permit for an addition or modification or new building, you have to submit a updated plat of survey within 90 days signed. What's the policy here? Because they may have to get a survey anyway.
So I believe at the time of the building permit, they need to provide the drawings and the,
Yeah, they don't require,
Location.
they don't require a survey.
Plat survey is
don't
not
right-
required here.
no,
Right.
they don't.
I built a whole survey, big addition with the builder just drawing it out. But we did at least have what the dimensions. I mean, they do have the 16 by 20, but that doesn't help us really
Doesn't tell
to
us
see
how
how
far in
far it is, yeah.
Does it, how far the house is in from the street?
We can't get, no. You, I mean, you can see there's no square footage there. So I think you need to reach out to, do you have somebody that's doing the construction?
This is my
No.
contractor.
Okay. Well, that's a good contractor. So, I mean, I think you need to be definitive and make sure that you've paced it out right so that you've got it right, because you don't want to come back here and you don't want the building inspector unhappy.
She is.
If she'd like to swap
yes,
out, and we'll take her name and
absolutely.
address, that's true.
Change anything. 'cause
No, it won't.
Sandra Giovanangelo, I'm actually just here with the contractor. The home was built before the laws were actually in place.
Understood, we saw that as part of the variance,
And
yeah.
because it's actually grandfathered in already, the deck is the same area that they just want to enclose. The only reason why it has to come down is to add the footings.
Understood,
What's
but we
there-
don't know the distance. So when we go to approve the variance, we're just pulling numbers out of the sky.
When you make a
But the
change.
deck still
Right,
still
when you
currently
make
exists.
a change though, unless it is still a deck, unless it, if you're making a change to something that's pre-zoning, you have to get approval. So even, we've had, there was a case months ago on South Road where he was just putting in new steps for his front door.
Right.
And because his house was built pre-zoning with the front of the house slightly in the setback, he needed to come in and just say, hey, listen, I'm just replacing the stairs. He was upgrading them, putting in new stone stairs. That was all he wanted to do, but because it's already in the setback and he's making a change to something, it has to get through zoning. That's how the law is written.
So again, you can just request a continuance to the next hearing. We'll put you on first for the next time, and then if you can get the square footage, and if you've got, you know, a drawing paced out, or so that when you're asking, you might want to reach out to the building inspector too. He can probably help you.
I'll just draw it out.
Okay.
And get
That's fine.
it right out, and
Okay?
Absolutely.
I could start the siding and roof on that. You don't need permits for that, do you? I was told you don't need permits for siding or roofing.
Confirm with the inspector.
I don't know.
Any permits that are outside of what we're discussing.
Right, I don't, I'm not.
All right.
You can ask me a legal question, I'll give you an answer, but building, I'm going to leave to you guys. So, do we need a motion for that to approve the, okay, I can get a motion so we can continue that
15th
to
of
next-
November.
What's the date? I'm sorry,
15th.
Kelly. 15th, November 15th.
I'd like to make a motion in case number 1018-2023-2 to continue the matter to the November 15th, 2023 meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's interesting that most municipalities require up-to-date 90-day recent survey for any modifications.
Do we have any other matters before the board?
No.
Good, Kelly, thank you. If I could get a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourn.
Second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye, aye.
Captain.
Captain.
I'll turn it off.